Hello, my name is Allie, and welcome to Funny Fat Friend, a podcast about this bodacious biracial babe trying to find herself in film. Here's an update. We have been protesting here in Louisville for 183 days for justice. You can find a link to the wish list of supplies, again, for protester needs. Give to the Louisville Bail Fund if you can. There were a bunch of arrests this weekend. What a fucking dream. And there's still a very important runoff happening in Georgia. I will link again as well to Fair Fight, where you can sign up to volunteer or give. Okay. Again, it's Harry Potter time. Whew. We have officially reached the halfway mark of the films. And I just felt such a weight lift from my shoulders right now. The end is coming. And this is so much easier than Twilight was, for sure. Yeah, these are at least entertaining. All right, Goblet of Fire. 2005 is when it came out. It had a budget of $150 million. It made $896.4 million, and it is the highest grossing film of 2005. And, of course, y'all, it's got Robbie Patts in it. Ooh. Oh my god, I love Robert Pattinson. This is his first major film, which I guess I talked about when I did Twilight. But at that time, of course, I didn't know that I would be doing this, because at that time I was like, I'm only going to wild out once with a series. But here we are on our third series. But yes, it's Robert Pattinson's first film. And it's the first of the series to receive a PG-13 rating, which I was actually shocked to find out. I thought, oh my god, Two Bros Secrets was so scary. That didn't get a PG-13? I don't understand. I was scared. I'm grown. But, okay, yeah, I'm not in charge of that. I don't understand how it's made. Who am I? And I also don't know why I got a PG-13 rating. Because Hagrid touches a butt at one point? Maybe? Alright, cool, let's talk about it. Alright, we open, and it's still dark and moody. There's a tower of skulls, and a snake slithers off of it. Very good imagery, y'all. Remember that. We're going to see it 1,400 more times. Skulls and snakes. Then the snake slithers by the statue of what looks like the Grim Reaper. I don't know, I guess it's a graveyard, but what graveyard has a Grim Reaper statue? That's... okay. Then we're in a dark little house with an angry old man who just wants to make himself some tea, but he sees that a light is on in the place next door, which I guess he looks after, it seems, because he has a key. In a minute, he goes into the house with just a flashlight. Bless him. And it's nonsense going in. He sees a light is on, and he just goes in and is like, I don't need to protect myself from someone obviously staying in this house that they shouldn't be. I got a flashlight, and I'm old. It's going to be fine. Well, that is white men. What do they have? The audacity. So he goes into the house, and it's very spooky, and everything has cobwebs. And we see Peter Pettigrew from the last one, Mr. McRatface, and a dirty David Tennant, just literally dirt on him and grease. And he's talking to an armchair. Incredible actors talking to an armchair, and there's a raspy voice that can be assumed as Voldemort speaking back to him. And then the snake from earlier slithers past the old man and tells the chair that the old man is there. And he gets Avada Kedavra, which is the murder spell, I think. Well, when I wrote this note, I said I think. Now, having watched the whole movie, I know it is. You were right, Past Alley. it is in fact the murder spell. And then we see Harry Potter wake up in like a bunch of sweat and like, yay. He's not at the fucking Dursleys' house. He's at the Weasleys. And Hermione is there. And so the whole crew's there after Harry wakes up in a sweat. And we find out that they have all gathered together to go to the Quidditch World Cup. Woo. So we meet Amos and his son Cedric Diggory, who is Robbie Pants. And he's so cute. He's so pretty. He is a gift. What a gift. So yeah, they whole crew plus beautiful addition. They all have backpacks and camping gear because I guess the World Cup is basically just fucking Bonnaroo, and they hike up a little hill and there's this dusty old boot at the top, and the Weasley twins are like, that ain't no normal dusty old boot, it's a port key. And Harry's like, huh? What's that? And I was like, also like, what the fuck is that? But then I was like, wait, what are they learning at Hogwarts? Why do they keep coming upon magical things that seem to be commonplace that Harry doesn't know what the fuck they are? Because, like, so far, they've only learned, like, 2 spells, and everything else has come from, like, individual research in the library that each character has had to do, or individual characters teaching them, and not... I don't even... You know, like, half the whole last movie was just one of the professors teaching extra shit to Harry, which is the only things he has used in his actual life. I don't know. Also, are they taking math class? What are they learning? Is it just normal high school? Plus, sometimes they do magic? Because that makes more sense. Okay, maybe it's that. It's normal, it's like normal school. But also, they can do magic. Sometimes. I don't know. Whatever. I'm so hung up. So many questions. Okay, anyway, a port key is like a portal device thing, so they all grab onto it, and they're like flying through the air, and when they let go, they plop down into another field, which is outside the arena. And Cedric and Amos are like champions of the port key, and they just like glide out of the sky and like walk onto the ground like it ain't no thing. And Cedric offers his hand to Harry to help him up because he is a good guy. Wholesome, beautiful Cedric. Okay. So they roll up to the campsite, and it is legit. It is fucking Bonnaroo. Except people are flying around on brooms and not because of drugs. Okay? And then Amos and Cedric split up from the group to go to their own spot, and Mr. Weasley brings the group to their tent, which is like a very normal-sized tent. But it definitely can't fit the, like, 15 of them that is there. But, of course, they have magic, so it's like... It's not what it seems. It's a full multi-room house inside this tent. And Harry walks in with his shaggy hair and dumbfounded face, and I'm like... When does the surprise stop? Like, come on. We just had this happen with the night bus. Like, just a year ago, Harry. When? When will the surprise stop? Like, I understand, to me, being surprised. But I wasn't even that surprised. But this boy is just... jaw to the ground every couple minutes. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense to be surprised. Yeah, it's like magic, but I don't know. If I was living in it, I don't think I would be as surprised. It's like when I hear drunken fights and people say wild things. I'm not surprised because I live next to a bar, you know? Okay. But, I don't know. Maybe he's just like this. I don't know. But how would he not be constantly exhausted? I mean, maybe he is. Alright. Anyway... He's like, I love magic. After he, like, walks into the tent and it's big. And also, it's like, this is the moment that would make you say that out loud. Not the times magic has literally saved your life. Or saved the lives of those around you and the people you love. But okay, this tent. This tent is the thing. I gotta move on. Okay, so they go to the stadium and they're climbing up lots of flights, and Ron is like, "Blimey, Dodd, I can't. Goddamn, back on this dumb shit." He just asks how far up their seats are. And then Malfoy and his dad show up below them, and Lucius says, "Let's put it this way. If it rains, you'll be the first to know." Ugh, got him. And then Draco adds that he and his dad are in the minister's box by invitation of Cornelius Fudge himself. But then his dad hits him and tells him not to boast. So, that's inconsistent parenting. And then Lucius snags Harry with his cane and tells him to enjoy himself while he can. He knows something, y'all. Okay, so they are literally at the top of the stadium. That is where their seats are. And looking at it filled me with dread. I was so panicked. I'm so afraid of heights. I'd be dead not even like an eighth of the way up to where they were. But the teams come flying in, and above their heads even. So high. Whew. Okay. The first team is the Irish. And so I guess it's like similar to our World Cup, where countries have teams that represent them, and they have like a firework of a leprechaun dancing a jig, and it's stupefying. Then the Bulgarians come through, but we only care about one of the players. It's a seeker. His name is Crumb, and the whole stadium becomes a screen with his face on it somehow. All these people's bodies turn into a fucking TV screen. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Like, is it a spell over the whole place? The stadium is just like... Also, he does all these tricks and shit real fast, and I guess gravity doesn't matter? Okay, I can't be thinking about it too much. But Hermione asks who he is and screams real hard for him, and he's hunky, so... Sweet. Right after the game, they're back in the tent having fun and making fun of Ron for loving Crumb a lot. And when Mr. Weasley comes in, he says that they have to leave right away. And they go outside, and the camp is on fire. And people are screaming. It is the hardest turn. And then there's a group of very scary people in skull masks, skulls again, and very weird pointy hoods come through chanting something ominous with tiki torches. So wizard white supremacists, because hate groups are universally tacky and disgusting. Harry gets separated from the group and trampled, and he passes out. Then after everything is burned and everyone is gone, we see Dirty David Tennant walking around. He's walking through the ruins, and he casts a spell, making a skull with, you guessed it, a snake appear in the sky. And it looked like the snake was the skull's neck. But I guess it comes out of its mouth. I don't know. It was spooky. I didn't like it. And that's the point. And then he runs away when he hears Ron and Hermione are yelling for Harry. And then Harry's scar starts to hurt. And the ministry shows up, surrounding them. But Mr. Weasley runs in, telling them to stop. That's my son. And a man in a bowler hat yells at them, asking which of them committed the crime. And Harry's confused. And Hermione explains, because Hermione is the only person that knows anything in this entire fucking series. Maybe she's the only one going to class. Maybe they are teaching things, and it's just Hermione's the only one trying. Which I'd also understand if I was in wizard school, being distracted. Yeah. Okay, but yeah. So Hermione explains that the symbol in the sky is the dark mark. His mark. Mr. Batty V himself. And Harry tells them which way Dirty Davy T went, and they go off after him. All right. Then we transition to the crew on the train to Hogwarts. The symbol is the front page of the Daily Prophet, which is their newspaper. And the trolley cart rolls through, and we get reminded that Ron is poor because he can't get 2 pieces of candy. He has to only get 1. Yep. And then a cutie comes up and gets 2 pumpkin things, and Harry looks at her, and he's all like, "Ooh, she's cute." And then this is our introduction to, I guess, the first love interest of the series. The chemistry is so palpable. I'm making a joke. It's not palpable at all. Okay, great. Then they're back to discussing the whole terrorist attack at the game, because who cares about this love? And apparently there was a lot of security, which makes it even scarier that the Death Eaters were able to get in. Whew. All right, and then we make it to Hogwarts, and we see a Pegasus-drawn chariot land at the school from the sky, and a Viking-looking ship comes out of the water. And in the Great Hall, Dumbledore announces they will be hosting visitors, and Filch comically runs in during his speech, whispers something, and then comically runs back out, just high knees the whole way. High knees, loud breaths. That's how you get it done. All right, and then Dumbledore says that they will be hosting the Tri-Wizard Tournament, which brings together 3 schools for a series of contests. From each school, a single student is selected, and if selected, you stand alone. These contests are not for the faint-hearted. Then we get introduced to the ladies of Beauxbaton's Academy of Magic, and they come in style set on 1,000. They have this tight-ass lit formation. They got butterflies coming off them when they sigh. Wow. But then we get an aside of Ron gawking at them, and then we have a shot of just their asses while they run. And that's fucking unacceptable. Oh my god. Is that why it's PG-13? Gross. Ugh. God. And then we see their headmistress, and she's a super tall woman, and I stand. Okay. And then we see the boys stand up and clap feverishly while the Hogwarts girls look all mad. I don't like that either. Alright? They're smarter than that. The women are... whatever. Boys are dumb. Okay. Then the sons of Dumbstrain come in. And they got fucking mad formation too. And they have magical walking sticks that spark. They are literally lit. Oh, and Crumb is one of the boys. What? And then one of them breathes fire in the shape of a snake that turns into a phoenix. And it is the most... oh, man. I also noticed that past me was like, these schools are so small in comparison to Hogwarts. And then I took a moment to think, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just a small group from each one, like of seniors or something, because you have to be like 17 in order to compete. So it makes sense. If I would have waited a moment, it would have made sense. So yeah, so it's like just small groups, I bet. But wait, no, because there's like an 11-year-old with them, so never mind, because we'll find out later, yeah, that one of the girls from Beauxbaton, her little sister is there too. She's really young. So, never mind. I don't know. I guess these schools are just small. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Okay, so yeah. The schools come in, and we also see Mad Eye Moody. And he has like a robot eye that zooms in. And the sound effect is hilarious when he zooms in. It's like zzz. It's really dumb. And we see him drink out of a flask. And he's the new Defense Against the Dark Arts professor. Neato. Okay. Alright. And they set up the goblet of fire. Yeah. Which is literally on fire. And it's how you enter your name into the Triwizard Tournament. And we see people putting in their names. Cedric, that we met earlier, Robbie Pads, gets pushed in by his boys to put his name in because he is very popular and loved, as it should be. And Harry and Ron watch and discuss how eternal glory would be great. But Harry's like, I don't actually think it would be great. It's just Ron. Ron is like, I want to be famous glory. Yeah. Then Fred and George Weasley run in, and they have made a potion to make them older so that they can enter. But Hermione is like, it's not going to work. That was pretty good. I'm proud of that. And she's like, Dumbledore drew an age line around the cup so no one underage could even get close to it. And they drink the potion and they're able to cross the line. And they put their names in. And they make faces at Hermione. But then they get blasted the fuck back and turn into old men and wrestle. So that's fun. Then Victor Crumb comes and puts his name in and makes smoldering eye contact with Hermione. Ooh. Alright, then we go to Defense Against the Dark Arts class, and Moody says he's there because Dumbledore asked him, and that's the end of the story. Goodbye, the end. Drama. We find out that there are 3 unforgivable curses. The use of any one will send you straight to Azkaban. The first is the Imperious Curse, which gives you control over another living thing, making it your puppet. At first they laugh, and it's funny because he makes a little bug do whatever, but then it gets serious. And Neville announces the second. After we find out that he is a very talented herbologist, like Moody says that. And he says the second is the Cruciotis Curse. It's the torture curse. And we find out Neville knows this. Someone told me in the book, we find out that Neville's parents, that this was used on them by one of the Death Eaters. And it's really sad. And it's especially sad later. And maybe I'll remember to talk about that later. Okay. So yeah, the torture curse. And then the final is the killing curse. And only one person has ever been known to survive it. And it's Harry Potter. Alright, great. And then we go to the champion selection. Dumbledore. Dumbledore is so animated now. I really like it. I like this actor just wilding out. He is so dramatic. It's phenomenal. Okay, our first champion is Victor Crumb from Dumbstrain. Then Beauxbatons have Fleur Delacour. Phenomenal. What a fucking queen. I want that to be my fucking rap name. Fleur Delacour. Fuck yeah. And for Hogwarts, it's Cedric Diggory. Woo. But then the goblet wilds out and it spits out another name. Harry Potter. Surprise. And Dumbledore yells for him and Ron looks all mad. And then Harry wanders down to some trophy room where the other champions are waiting, shortly followed by the teachers, literally running. And the bonkers way that Dumbledore runs up on him, wild in the eyes, and is like, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" Yeah, it made me giggle so hard. Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Highly recommend. It's very funny. I highly recommend. Just if you don't watch this movie or you don't want to watch the whole, just watch that moment. It's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth that $150 million budget. Ah, man. It's really good. Okay. Then we find out from Kraut, the guy from the Ministry. He says that it's binding. And that Harry has to compete. Which doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. You don't have to do anything. Nobody ever has to do anything. This is dumb. They don't have to do... They don't have to do this. They literally don't. But okay. So Harry is sitting all emotional by his window while it storms, and Ron is mad at him like a fucking bitch, honestly. And it's really confusing. And we see the professors having a meeting, and Snape is like, let's just let it play out. And Dumbledore is like, yeah. And then he pulls like some scary silver shit out of his head and he puts it in a bucket. And I don't. And then we see it's like a memory of him pulling Harry's name out of the Goblet of Fire. It gets explained better later, but it was very confusing in the moment. Okay? And then we meet a shitty reporter named Rita Skeeter. Rita Skeeter? I don't know. And she comes and she interviews the champions and writes a shitty article about Harry, and Sirius sends him a message to chat, and his face appears in burning embers of the fireplace where he grills him about the dream he had and tells him that Hogwarts is not safe, and tells him that the head of Dumbstream used to be a fucking Death Eater. Whew. And that Kraut, the guy from the Ministry who wears a bowler hat, sent his own son to Azkaban, so he's heartless. And that whoever put his name in the goblet is not a friend. People die in this tournament. Fucking what? That is unacceptable. This school is so unacceptable. There's no mandatory reporting for child abuse because they are straight up killing children for sport. Fuck. Alright, we can't... Okay, I've learned that I can't think about stuff too hard when it comes to this series, because it's bad. It's so dark. I understand not wanting your kid to read this series growing up. Not on the whole, like, wizardry is the stuff of the devil, but, like, it's just abuse and terror. So, yeah, maybe keep your kids away from that. I'd agree if that was your reasoning for not wanting your kid to read it. I understand. Okay, back to it. Let's just get back to it. Then Neville and Harry are hanging by the lake, and Hermione, Ginny, and Ron roll up, and Ron isn't speaking to Harry because he's mad at him for putting his name in the Goblet of Fire, even though he didn't. And obviously he didn't. But yeah, Ron's not speaking to him. And Hermione is their go-between, but it pisses her off, which is fair. And she tells him that Hagrid is looking for him. So Harry goes and meets up with Hagrid, and he tells him to get under his cloak while the head lady from Beauxbatons, and Hagrid make eyes with each other while they're scoping out the animals that they brought in for the first challenge, which are dragons, which are dope. These dragons are cool. Good job, Harry Potter. That was where all the money went. All the money went on the dragons. Yes, it did. Okay, cool. Then, while walking through the courtyard, Malfoy starts talking some mad shit at Harry about a bet he has with his dad that he won't even last 5 minutes in the first challenge. And when Harry starts to walk away after saying his dad is vile and Malfoy is pathetic, he gets him good. He pulls his wand to curse him. Malfoy pulls out his wand to, like, curse Harry while he's walking away, and it's fucked up. But Mad-Eye Moody turns Malfoy into a ferret because he saw him try and do that. And then he shakes him around, and he puts him in fucking, like, Crabbe's pants, which is extremely fucked up. And then McGonagall comes and turns him back into a human, and Malfoy's like, my dad will hear about this. And Moody is like, is that a threat? And starts to chase him. And McGonagall scolds him. And Mad-Eye is just like, well, don't care. Then Mad-Eye Moody takes Harry and gives him some advice about the first task. And Harry tips off Cedric about the task being dragons. Because they're pals, I guess. Alright, cool. Then the champions are in a tent together, and Hermione shows up, and while hugging Harry, Rita Skeeter, whatever her name is, she shows up and takes a picture, but then Crumb tells her to leave and she's a piece of shit. So that's good. They all stick up for each other, and I like that. Then the champs pick out their dragons out of a bag. Little dragons in a bag. That's a good... I want to write that book. I'm going to write a book called Little Dragons in a Bag. Or that could be a good album. I'll cut an album. That'll be my album, yeah. Alright, anyway, Harry gets the horntail. And each dragon that they find out is guarding an egg, which contains the key to the next challenge. And Harry is able to... Harry gets his egg pretty quick. And when celebrating, he's being lifted up by his fellow students in their, like, dorm hall. I don't know. And he's like, who wants me to open the egg? And everyone's like, fuck yeah, open the egg. But then he does, and it's this horrible high-pitched screaming sound. And it's a full vibe killer. And then Ron shows up after everybody's, like, dissipating because that was terrible. Ron shows up, and they make up, and they're friends again, and it's nice. And he's like, you didn't put your name in there. And he's like, duh, God. But we also find out it was Ron who helped him get the clue about the dragons. Because his brother Charlie works with dragons. Yeah. Cool. Then, while in the hall, Ron gets a package from his mom. And their dress robes she sent him for the Yule Ball. We find out about the Yule Ball. It's a ball they're going to have. And his dress robes look like a 70s couch. And I'm into it. I think that's fun. Then McGonagall holds a dancing class to prepare them for the ball. And of course, Ron gets used as the guinea pig with McGonagall. And then she has everybody stand up to dance. But only the girls get up. Because boys are lame. Except for Neville, who steps up, and he throws down like a fucking king, because he's a fucking king. He's my favorite. Alright, then Harry asks Cho Chang to go to the ball with him, which is the girl that he has only looked at one time. In the train, remember? She ordered pumpkin things in the train, and so... he runs into her and is like, will you go to the ball with me? And she's like, no, and somebody else already asked me. So, then he gets sad. And then Ron comes in, and he's also been rejected and sad. But then Harry asks the Patel sisters to go with them, because they say hello to him sometimes. So, he's like, there's the opportunity. Ugh. So, Harry and Ron attend the Yule Ball with Pavarti and Padme Patel. Harry's crush, Cho Chang, attends with Cedric. Oh man, dagger to the heart. And Hermione attends with Victor Crumb. Ay, it's really wonderful. And she looks super beautiful. Everybody looks really beautiful. Even Ron in his couch clothes, which I like. Okay. So it starts and it's like this very traditional dance. And then it transitions to this rock band playing, which has some people from Radiohead in it. So, fun. And then Ron is a bitch to Hermione about her date. And then she roasts both of them and then cries. And it's sad. It's a bummer. But then we see Hagrid and the head lady from Beauxbatons dancing, like slow dancing. And it's nice until fucking Hagrid makes a move, puts his hand on her butt. She moves his hand. So, PG-13. Alright. Then Hermione and Harry have a nice heart-to-heart out on that long-ass bridge that is on campus for some reason. And Cedric comes up and thanks Harry about tipping him off about the dragons. And he tells him how to interpret the egg clue. And he's like, take a bath with it. He says it in a more like roundabout way, but that's essentially what he says. He's like, take a bath with it. So of course, Harry goes and takes the biggest bubble bath of all time. And the window in the bathroom is like stained glass. of a mermaid, and it moves because that's just art, automatically moves. Yeah. Then we get Moaning Myrtle shows back up. What a cameo. What a cameo none of us wanted. And she tells him to put it in the water, the egg, because he just like opened it again. It was terrible. And she's like, that other cute boy put it in the water. So do that. And then she's like, I also found some Polyjuice potion. You still being bad? He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she's super creepy and gets all in the water with him and is really uncomfortable. So he goes underwater. And we hear a very lovely song about seeking us where our voices sound. And some other stuff, and I didn't write it down. But the next scene, they're going over it. He and Hermione are going over it in the library. And she cracks it and is like, yo, it's the Black Lake. It's where your next challenge is going to be. You're going to have an hour to retrieve a treasure. And he's like, how the fuck am I supposed to hold my breath for an hour underwater? But then, of course, Neville comes through with some plant that gives him gills. It's called gillyweed. And we are now at task 2, or trial 2, or game 2. I don't know what it's called. But it's the second one. And each champion has to find their treasure and return to the surface of the water within 1 hour. And we find out the treasure is people. God damn it. And these people are terrifying. Like the way the props of their bodies, I guess, that are underwater, because I don't know how else they were going to do it, like digitally, to have the actors like swimming around underwater and trying to pull these people up. It's like, I guess they're like wax figures is kind of what they look like. It is really scary. They're all very scary looking. The people are, for Harry, it's Ron. Hermione is Victor Crumb's person. Fleur has her little sister, which, see, her little sister's there. So I guess, yeah. And Cho Chang is Cedric's person. Pretty quickly, we find out Fleur forfeits, had to like give up, and Harry is still underwater, and he sees that Fleur hasn't saved her sister, but while he's down there, both Victor and Cedric show up and take their people. And so he saves her sister while he saves Ron as well. And gets out of the water, and he technically finished third, but because of his character, the judges decide to bump him up to second place. Wow. And after he gets out of the water, Crouch talks to him about doing a good job and how tough it is, not having a family because, he sent his own son to Azkaban. God. But Mad-Eye Moody shows up and interrupts them. And Crouch looks like terrified while he's looking at Moody. After Moody does this like weird little tongue tick thing where he like pokes his tongue out and back in. It kind of looks like a snake a little bit. And when Crouch sees him do it, he like fucking bounces out. But then later, Harry discovers Crouch Sr. in the forest, dead, and it's sad. And he's taken to Dumbledore's office, and while he's waiting, Harry discovers the pensieve, which is the bucket with silver stuff in it. That's what it's called. It holds Dumbledore's memories. And Harry witnesses a trial in which Dumbstrain, the headmaster of those guys, we find out he was a former Death Eater. And it's at his trial, and he confesses to the Ministry of Magic and names other Death Eaters. But the ones he names include Severus Snape, but Dumbledore immediately is like, we have been through this. We know he's innocent. He was working for us. He was a mole. All right? And then Igor names Barty Crouch Jr. who, of course, is Crouch's son, and he has the same tongue tick that we saw. And Crouch imprisons him in Azkaban. So Harry gets to see that. And because he sees what Crouch Jr. looks like, he realizes that it's the man he saw in his dream, which is Dirty David Tennant, is Crouch Jr. Alright, cool. Then, after being in Dumbledore's office, Snape yells at him for stealing gillyweed, which is what he used in the last challenge, and accuses him of also making Polyjuice Potion from the stolen stuff. But it ain't that way. And he also is like, I have this potion that would make you tell all your secrets. Which is important later. They're very heavy-handed with their hints about stuff. But I'm also a grown person, so if I was a kid, I probably would not have picked up on these things. So then who's it for? All these hints. I don't know. Whatever. It's great. Here we go. We're keep moving. Alright. Then it's the day of the third challenge. And it is a maze with the Triwizard Cup in the center of it. And we find out that Moody was in charge of placing the Triwizard Cup in the center of the maze. And Dumbledore warns that people change in the maze. Yikes. And Cedric's dad is there to wish him good luck, and it's really cute. And he and Harry get a head start because they're tied for first place. What a dream. So they're in there, and spooky as heck, very dark, and Fleur is incapacitated, and Harry finds her, like, getting eaten by the fucking maze, and he sends up a flare for her to get rescued. He sees Victor, who, like, whose eyes are, like, glazed over, and he sees that he's, like, been bewitched, and Cedric also runs into Victor and Harry, and Cedric disarms Victor, and Harry gets him to stop from, like, fucking tearing him up. And then the maze starts to try and eat Cedric also, but Harry saves him, because he's nice. And the two decide to grab the cup at the same time so that they will just, like, tie or whatever. But when they grab the cup, it turns out to be a portkey, and it transports them to a graveyard where Peter Pettigrew, Ratman, and Voldemort, No-Nose Man, are waiting. And Voldemort orders Pettigrew to kill Cedric with the killing curse. Then he performs a ritual that rejuvenates Voldemort. They, like, put him in a pot. His little sad body, they put in a big cauldron. And he turns into full-bodied, still no-nose Voldemort. He then summons his Death Eaters, one of which is Malfoy's deity, Lucius. Ooh-wee. Bad through and through. Then Voldemort sets up a duel between him and Harry. Although it's like, he's just doing it to, like, flex. Being like, alright, this boy, this baby, everybody thinks defeated me. But that ain't the case. I gotta squash this beef now. But when they, like, start to face off, a beam of light, they're like, their wands are linked. Remember? They're made from, like, the same fucking phoenix feather, right? So it, like, turns into one beam, and the spell Voldemort was using, like, comes out of his wand, and it shows, like, the ghosts of all the people Voldemort has murdered appearing out of it. And so, like, there's Cedric is there, and then Harry's parents are there, and that man who was watching the house is there. And yeah, it freaks out Voldemort, which is a great distraction because it gives Harry time to then run over to Cedric's body and grab the Triwizard Cup and transport them back to Hogwarts. Oh, man. And Harry is there, and everybody's like cheering because he shows back up with the cup, but he's like laying over top of Cedric crying. And Cedric's dad comes down from the stands and collapses crying over his body. And he cries really hard. And I cried really hard. It was heart-wrenching, this scene. So well acted. Whew. Okay. Then Harry is ushered away from the maze by Mad-Eye Moody. He goes back to like his classroom, or his little back room in his classroom. And slowly Harry starts to realize that something is wrong with Moody. And Moody tells him that he was the one who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire, and that he's been helping Harry get through the 3 tasks because he wanted Harry to reach the Tri-Cup first, so that he would be transported to Voldemort's father's graveyard, which we find out is Voldemort's father's graveyard, and be used in a spell to bring Voldemort back to life. Everything we've seen. Moody then raises his wand to kill Harry, but Dumbledore disarms him through the door. Him and Snape come in. And Snape pours that like truth serum potion down his throat. And he reveals where he's been keeping the actual Moody, which was in this like sad trunk. And then they watch as Moody transforms into his true form, which is Barty Crouch Jr., Dirty David Tennant. And with everyone, and yeah, so they got him. And they send him back to Azkaban. Then we have all the students gathered in the Great Hall, and Professor Dumbledore gives a really fucking good speech, setting the record straight about what has happened, saying that Lord Voldemort murdered Cedric Diggory, and that he is back. And it's scary. Then everybody says goodbye to everyone from the other 2 schools. And Victor tells Hermione to write to him. It's cute. And Ron gets a little kiss from Fleur and her sister. You know, because she thinks that he helped save her, but he didn't. He was just there getting saved too. But yeah, you know. Then Ron is like, can we ever just have a quiet year at Hogwarts? Well, then we see the boat goes back into the ocean and the chariot leaves. And that's the end of the movie. Phew. This one was a fucking long haul. This one's really long. It was almost 3 hours. Cool. Rotten Tomatoes, 88%. That's pretty high. Letterboxd, 3.7 stars out of 5. And at the 2006 Kids' Choice Awards, the film won the Blimp Award for Favorite Movie. Surprisingly, it's the only Harry Potter film to do so. It's the only one that got a Kids' Choice Award. It also won the BAFTA Award for Best Production Design, making it the first one to win at the BAFTAs. I was surprised because I was looking at like the awards for these films, and yeah, it wasn't until the 4th one they got a major award, which I thought was really wild. Just even from production and special effects. But the other, they were up against Lord of the Rings. These are coming out the first 3, so that adds up why they didn't win those. Ooh, also a fun fact, there was a lawsuit with this one. Warner Brothers was sued by a Canadian folk group named the Weird Sisters. And they sued them because the band at the Yule Ball is named the Weird Sisters, apparently in the book. And Warner Brothers wanted to use it, so Warner Brothers actually approached the group first to get permission to use the name, and they were like, no. And then they filed a $40 million lawsuit against Warner Brothers. Shit. And not only just Warner Brothers, also the members of the people playing the fictional band. And I don't know, it was settled in 2010, so that's pretty bonkers. But yeah, so they don't say their name at all in the film. They don't call them the Weird Sisters. It's just some band playing. Eek. All right, cool. Do I relate to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire? No. I have never been through trials like any of these. Yeah, this one was definitely more like fantastical, I guess. Somehow, I think, yeah, like there was more otherworldly magical things in Azkaban, but the way they were presented and the directing in that one made them more believable and like relatable and less jarring. But in this one, all of the like the mermaids and all of the magic things felt very like disjointed, and it wasn't as personal. This one's definitely more like action heavy. I think it's more interesting from a story, but it's definitely like the heroes. It's a hero's tale in this one through and through. There's not much character development, I guess. I don't know, like depth of character. It's just he is hero, he does task, he win, you know. Which like it's cool. It's cool to watch. I actually really enjoyed watching it. I remember really disliking it as a kid. This was my least favorite one. It made me upset. But I liked it being grown. It is messed up. Kids should not be put in these situations. But, you know, it's fake, so that's alright. So, no, yeah, I don't relate with this movie. There are I only counted 3 people of color, of which only one of them speaks, and one of them is like Hermione's best friend that never speaks, and just giggles with her about Victor Crumb. So that was ass. Great. All right, we did it. The fourth one in the can. 4 more to go. That's pretty unbelievable. I don't know. I see this as like the big action one of the series, and it's the middle. Shit. Fuck. I know that people really like the 5th one. So, fingers crossed. I think the next one's Order of the Phoenix. I think that's correct, right? I don't know. I couldn't be bothered to look. We'll see. I don't know. They're all really long going forward. Yay. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you for listening. I've been Allie, your friendly neighborhood fat friend, and I would lovingly not bathe and sit at your feet in a chair any day, like Dirty David Tennant. I don't think about these before I say them. These are all off the top of the dome. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Yeah, that's obvious. Okay. All right. I'll talk at you next week. Bye.